So what's the story? Telling stories isn't a modern invention. Long before humans had a written language, we were swapping them. Our ability to create and share stories is one of the few truly universal human traits found in all cultures throughout history and serves an essential purpose. They help us understand the world and our place in it. Storytelling helps us educate, entertain, preserve history, pass on traditions, show affiliations, and reinforce social mores. You can learn a lot about a society's belief system by looking at its fairy tales, parables, proverbs, legends, myths, jokes, and even nursery rhymes. Additionally, many stories throughout history, regardless of culture or time, share common structural or literary devices. The late American scholar Joseph Campbell believed all stories everywhere shared a fundamental structure, what he called a monomyth, the hero's journey. Campbell identified several steps our hero archetype takes along a journey, including leaving home, overcoming great challenges, and eventually returning home having been endowed with special wisdom or powers. Campbell's work has influenced artists and writers around the world, including Star Wars maestro George Lucas. What's also fascinating about the human history of storytelling is that similar motifs, recurring objects or ideas in a narrative, pop up in all major cultures throughout the world, suggesting the same origin. The Great Flood narrative is a prime example. Though many Christians and Jews might have heard of the biblical story of Noah and his ark, strikingly similar stories are found all over the world in different faiths and even centuries before Noah's adventures were chronicled in the book of Genesis. This knowledge becomes especially important if you are considering incorporating stories into speeches because it illustrates how common themes might resonate and, therefore, connect with your audience organically. We'll explore this idea later in the chapter when we talk about universal themes. But first, what's your story? A storied life. Has anyone ever told you that your life could be a movie or make a great reality show? This observation usually follows one of your especially zany, dramatic events or escapades. On the other hand, maybe you don't think your life is all that exciting. If this is the case, time to reconsider. Every up and down of daily life is a story disguised as a victory, deed, or disaster. Take a closer look because you don't want to miss out on one of the most effective strategies you can use in a speech. There are many reasons why this is true. The first is that you are a natural-born storyteller. You think and communicate in stories all day long. In fact, personal stories and gossip fill 65% of our conversations. This means your audience will be all ears for your story, too. Yet, our attention to stories goes deeper than that. Intellectual properties. When it comes to public speaking, an audience is far more likely to remember a powerful story over facts and figures long after the speech is over. It's not only because we're used to telling and listening to them. Humans are hardwired to hear them. When someone tells us a story, our brain immediately starts working to connect it with our own experiences. As we search through our intellectual inventory, the insular cortex in our brain kicks in, cueing us to identify with emotional elements of the story. This means that whether they are used to entertain, inform, or persuade, stories are effective because they appeal directly to our emotions and sense of empathy. This is great news for public speakers. It's like moving into an apartment that's already cable-ready. Your audience is already hooked up and ready for you to flip the proverbial switch. Universal remote. What supercharges stories in speeches and in literature are universal themes. As we mentioned at the beginning of the chapter, these are central ideas that are found across the world, throughout time, and in almost every story ever told. These tales, as old as time, include human, man or woman, against nature, human, man or woman, against self, human, man or woman, against society.